Hello and welcome back, or not back, I don't know, maybe first time. I got a commission from a friend to make a Stitch puppet, kind of. It's not gonna be a stop motion puppet, it's just like a posable kind of art doll kind of thing. I start with the ball of aluminium foil, so I won't use a big amount of polymer clay, and also it will make the sculpture lighter in the end. I was extremely nervous while making this guy. I wasn't sure if I am able to make him the same as the original one, but I decided to make a kind of like my interpretation of Stitch, and also I was kind of afraid of furring his entire body and a face. This is something that I've never done before, so stressful! I think I got pretty nervous at the end and stopped recording. I always do that when I'm like super stressed, and you will see the final sculpture later. I promise, okay, sorry. Okay, at this stage I thought, what if I messed up with the furring stage? Maybe I should be able to make multiple copies in case I messed up. So I made a silicone form and I decided to pour resin inside. And maybe I thought I could use the head for some other projects or creatures and just slightly modify it, I don't know. And here I'm pouring a tiny bit of resin and move the form around so the resin goes to every small corner and I won't get any bubbles later. And then I pour the rest of the resin. And also I made this beautiful construction to attach the wire to the head. After 15 minutes, resin will be totally solid and lock the wire inside. Okay, so this is how the head looks like so far. And now it's time for armature. Since it won't be a puppet for animation, I just made a simple armature from aluminium wire and glue everything together with epoxy glue. I sculpted this tiny feet the same way I did with the head, and here you can see how I'm smoothing the polymer clay with some acetone. I also made a silicone form for this tiny feet, because I wanted them to be from resin instead of polymer clay. Resin is more durable and less likely to break than polymer clay. For his body I use upholstery sponge, but any sponge would work as well, as long as it's soft and squishy. Before gluing foam to the wire, at first I wrap it with the sewing thread so foam has something to stick to. I glued everything together with transparent shoe glue, but fabric glue can work as well. Sponge can be easily formed with scissors to whatever shape you like. Make sure to use very small and sharp scissors so it's easier to work with. If you want to add fur to your puppet, remember that it will add more volume to the body. That's why you should shape the body much more skinnier than the thickness that you want to end up with. If you do otherwise, it will look much more chunkier. I paint everything in a similar color to the fur, so in case I miss some places, it won't be visible as a white ugly spot. Now is the worst part, okay. I found some white fur at home that I dyed blue. It's more brighter than I want it to be, but I will airbrush it later. And I hope it will end up pretty alright. As you can see, I just cut a few pieces of fur and sew everything together. I'm not very good at sewing, so sorry, I have nothing else to say. From the sketch, I cut out stencil for the ears. I will prepare the furry piece and the pink felt one. I started to trim the fur a little bit to see what I have created. What have I done? Oh my god, very stressful. I drilled tiny holes for ears, and look at him! Look at this furry blue lizard boy! Yes! Yeah. Now the worst part, to actually fur his entire head. I thought it might be a good idea to make tiny paper stencils and then cut small pieces of fabric and glue it to the head. The rest free spots I would just trim a little bit of fur and glue it with the fabric glue and wish for the best. He had few lighter spots on his body and I will cover them with the paper tape and then airbrush everything else with darker blue. If you apply too much paint, the fur can get a little bit sticky and ugly. So I apply really thin layers of paint and I rub it with the paper towel and alcohol so the fur will have the same texture as it has before. And it's also good for blending the colors together. I fix the eyes with paint and I apply a transparent nail polish. I would use a UV resin, but I didn't have it at home. For his tiny claws I use these plastic pellets. When you put them under very hot water they are moldable, and after they cool down they turn into very hard plastic again. I apply a couple of details, I fix all of the things, and after all of the work, it's time for the final result. Thank you guys so much for watching, and if you like the video please subscribe and give it a like. You can check my Instagram account where I post more of animation content but also puppet content, and thank you once again and see you in the next one.